it on the screen. Before I forget again. Yeah, and actually I arranged to talk with Daniela, probably on Monday night. I'm going to have a Zoom call with her, unless she shows up tonight, but I know she hasn't shown up recently. But, you know, it's a big question about the nursing. She was saying that, you know, if you're sitting next to a kid who's very anxious during chemotherapy and you give them, you know, have a dog be with them, that's therapy. And I'm going, well, wait a second, let's I'm, you know, I'm going to talk to her and she'll probably hear this recording. Said, wait a second. And then I'm trying to think, well, why am I saying wait a second? Why was Daniela saying wait a second? And why aren't we calling? We had this discussion in the past of having a dog next to a kid in the dentist chair. Is that dentist assisted therapy? And wait a second, let's figure this out. Then I was thinking therapy is a process. It's not a prescription of you go to a pharmacist and get prescribed a pill or something. I think the therapy that we're talking about is more of a process.
And it can't be one moment of, you know, helping out with pain management. I don't think so. I mean, I don't think so. But again, I'm not a medical.
Yeah. So, and she wrote me a nice email today, you know, where she just said that when I wrote about the whole idea of psychologist versus psychotherapy, and it's like different for all different countries, she thinks that that's probably, you know, what's going on too with the animal assisted nursing. But, you know, I think we're going to have to figure that out more and see what really is a jump in intervention and jump out as opposed to some sort of process. Yes, Michael, talk.
No, the only thing I also wanted to say is I think we need to be careful about individual examples. There may well be, you know, a very small number of certain people doing something with dogs, but it's really not a very mainstream activity. I think we need to focus probably on the largest groups first.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to be careful because, you know, there's going to be someone who does something with rabbits and I don't know. I can't make up an example, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because there's so many characters. So many medical treatments, so many settings, so many countries. That's just a worry.
Yeah. It's Laura, you were about to say something.
Me, Laura?
Yeah.
I was just thinking.
I saw you going like this.
You know, we had the conversation about, I think, as I said in my email, the reason we changed or, you know, suggesting changing animal assisted therapy to animal assisted treatment is that treatment can include therapy, but also other forms of treatment. And certainly if nursing or any other practitioner is incorporating a therapy animal, whether it's for the emotional benefit, physical benefit, or whatever of the patient, and it's a documented intervention with goals, etc., then it's animal assisted treatment. It doesn't, I mean, the term.
But doesn't
therapy,
that bring back the whole idea of a dog sitting next to a dentist, you know, some kids in a dentist chair?
I think that's the difference of the documentation, the professional application, you know, the goals and things like that. If they're sitting next to a dentist chair, that's what animal assisted specialty.
Support services.
Yeah, the other one, like similar
Support
to the
services.
visit.
Support.
Yeah.
Isn't that
Support.
what a dog
Right.
sitting
It's
next to a
not
child
documented.
in chemotherapy?
It's usually things usually are not documented. I've had programs where we've been in cancer care centers for radiation oncology and also for chemotherapy. The presence of the therapy animal is therapeutic, but it's more of a volunteer basis. It's there to offer, you know, kind of emotional support and comfort, but it's not documented by one of the medical practitioners. The nurses don't
Right,
don't.
then the animal isn't the key element of the treatment itself. It's an additional element. It's a support element of the treatment. It's
Yeah.
not the key element. So that's why that simpler table, I was just trying to ask people to summarize what are the key elements of your practice. And if you could write down in those columns, those are the key elements. That's why my animal is key to the treatment, education, whatever. That's why it's critical. Then that's a field, that's a valid field of practice. That's different from medical practice that happens to use the wonderful visitation dogs that are so helpful, right?
Mhm.
But so unless people do that and explain what are the key elements of their practice, I think the public and the researchers remain with this impression that anyone could call themselves whatever if they bring their animal to whatever they do. And I think that's what we really need to get away from. And Nancy and I worked over those columns, but we can't figure out what other people claim to be doing, like nursing, animal assisted nursing and things like that. So is there some way? I simplified the table, we simplified the table. There's a much simpler table and we could share that if Amy wants to do that. And just ask people, could they just put in one element of their practice and then it convinces everybody that it's a valid practice. Yes, sorry.
Yeah, Michael, yeah.
No,
Jump
don't
in,
be
don't
sorry.
jump in.
It's so difficult on Zoom. I think you just gave yourself, in a way, the answer, because I suspect in many situations with nursing, the animal plays more of a role, like in the cancer treatment, to support. I think it's so different
Call
than
it support.
an OT utilizing the movement of a horse to do
Absolutely.
occupational therapy, or a person working with the dog for trauma therapy with someone. That's
Exactly,
much
where it's
more
a key
animal,
element.
right.
Yeah, well, it'd be interesting. Again, I'm looking forward to talking with Cindy when she, I talked to her hopefully on Monday. So she could give me some examples and I can try to work with her of the difference between key element and not key element. And again, if they're doing psychotherapy, maybe it's similar to what I do, who knows? We'll see. Yeah, Laura.
And just remember, right, I keep mentioning how many volunteers there are out there doing so many different things. So all of the things you have just mentioned, I've had my dog in the dentist's office with kids, right? But we just sat there. I didn't even say anything. The dog just sat there. We have people going to cancer care and hospice, and I can't even list all the places that volunteers are going now, but in most cases, there is no goal, right? There's no documentation. It's just that thing that we know that makes people feel better by having the animals there.
Mhm.
And these are volunteers, the majority of whom do not have the training to do any kind of documented or goal-oriented work. So just keep that in mind, right? That field's going to keep growing, the volunteer field. The volunteers are going to be everywhere.
And they should be.
Yes,
And they should
absolutely.
be.
But then they should have their own term, their animal assisted support services.
I agree.
Mhm.
I agree.
Which I like
I
better
agree.
than lot better than activity. It's more respectful. Much
Mhm.
more.
Yes,
Yeah, it's a
yes.
service. You're right. They're providing a
It's a
service, right?
service.
Even with volunteers, and I just keep bringing that up because the field is growing so much. I can't even tell you all the places that there are volunteers because people are out on their own volunteering at all kinds of places. I don't even know where they are, honestly, some of them. But just keep that in mind.
I just want to say something. So I started to say it and then we got off. There might be two things that will interrupt me, but just for a minute, I hope. I'm right now babysitting for two of my grandchildren and they're asleep right now. But if the baby wakes up, I might run up and put her back to sleep. And the other thing is that I started to mention is that a war started in Israel today with Gaza. And I don't know what's going on. And my daughter called a little bit before we started the Zoom meeting saying that she's heard sirens near her. And she said she's fine, but her dog is freaking out and she might be coming home up north where we're not hearing anything. And so she might give me a quick call to tell me that she's on the way. I'm just going to answer and come right back. Hopefully this is a real quickie, but yeah. Anyway, to say if I get off for just for a couple of minutes or something, you'll know that.
Of course.
Yeah, that's what's going on. Okay, good.
Wow.
Daniela, the more recent document chart that you're referring to, will you send that? You said there's
So
a
I've
little.
already, it's uploaded, I think, in the documents. Can maybe, I don't think I could put it up. Could you put up the one that says major areas of practice? Can anyone do that from the Google Docs?
I'm just putting multiple participants can share simultaneously. So go ahead, Amy.
Okay, or if you want to, Danielle, you can do it if you want to share, if you're already there.
I'm not sure how to, well, let me
It's
see.
not showing up.
We practiced it on Monday.
Yeah, we did. Let me try again. Let me try to go to the one that's on my desktop first. Share screen. Can anyone see anything?
Yep.
Okay, so this is like a very simplified
Yeah. Mhm.
and I was thinking, so let's just list all these fields that people claim themselves to be doing, and then maybe the people who do these could just write down what are the specific goals of their service. If nobody's going to do that, we were talking with Nancy, maybe we'll delete this yellow column and leave people, again, in the dark about what does, I don't know, AA coaching mean. But we know that the overarching goals of anyone who is mental health related and might do AA, psychotherapy, psychology, counseling, social work, coaching, clinical nursing, has these goals: mental health and personal development focus of the work depending on type of client needs. And these could be psychosocial, behavioral, emotional functioning, including family life skills development, because that's what I assume these would refer to, right? So, but I think for our own purposes to understand if these really are valid different fields of practice, different from psychotherapy, maybe whoever claims to be one of these practitioners could just specify what are their goals or
How is it different from?
or scope or something.
psychotherapy?
Yeah. So I don't know if this is correct, and Laura, you probably could say, so we don't want an explanation of everything you do. This isn't a justification of what is the main specific objective of the practice if the animal is an integral part of it. And I assume for occupational therapy, your treatment targets specific physical, sensory, or cognitive problems. I don't know if that's right or wrong. Please correct if it's wrong. If it's physical, physiotherapy targets specific physical, parenthesis, mobility problems, speech therapy, specific speech related problems. Or if we don't want the specificity, health related focus depending on type of client needs. And these could be physical, cognitive, speech, coping with medical issues. That's sort of the way we were trying to go. And then for education, again, if some people do practice these, maybe they could just complete what are the overall goals of this area. Now, this area, I think we decided with Nancy, it had literacy programs as a separate one, but Nancy said based on somebody's suggestion that that's still academic focus. So there's just one sub area. But this other one, focus on emotion regulation, coping strategy, empathy, pro-social skills, and personal development under education, has a couple of subfields. Again, if somebody who is part of these fields could just distinguish their practice, like how is this different from this, or something like that. If it's impossible to write down what is your specific content or goal of the work, then we'll get rid of this and leave it as an overarching goal for all these domains of animal assisted psychoeducation / humane education / training programs, right? And then the same for the support services, visitation programs in various public spaces. I think this is much easier. I don't think we need, because it's pretty obvious all of these programs that are based on just animals visiting in various public spaces have a focus on general well-being. And then there's the specialized support services that have specific well-being focus, trauma-related coping, recovery, whatever. But again, if there's someone who practices in these fields and would like to write down what's the key element or the key goal of that particular service, that would be fantastic. I think that would be fantastic for researchers to understand the content of these subfields, for the public, and so on. If nobody wants to do any of this, then we'll stay with the general one over all these subfields, and then people who are not part of AASs will keep saying, well, a lot of these fields are probably not valid and separate fields, but whatever.
Yeah.
Now, it would be absolutely fantastic if, again, people who do this would say, why is their animal key? And this could be something like passive or active, like the presence of the animal with one's natural behaviors might be extremely therapeutic for psychotherapy, depending on your psychotherapy. So you can put active, passive, natural behaviors. Psychology, have no idea. Counseling, I suppose it's the presence of the animal. I don't know if they're task trained. However, here, clearly the animal is task trained, right? Probably for occupational therapy, you task train too, right?
Yeah.
So just something like passive, active, task trained, or untrained natural behaviors, something that would refer to what is the animal's role. And then I left these out. So all that information that I gathered initially back in February and that Nancy and I worked on Sunday is in the big table, in case nobody else wants to complete, this table with what exactly are the elements of their own profession. We could go back and put some of that info, but I'd rather, this is cleaner, and maybe people just are, it would take 5 minutes for someone who does AA coaching to say, what are their goals? What does the animal do? If they have, what kind of qualifications they have, postgraduate degree, no degree, whatever, online training, no protocol or protocol, and so on. Sorry, yes, go ahead.
Okay, I just have a question. So in some of these professional settings, you have volunteers working with their animals with the professional.
Right, so we need some special thing saying under provider, the lead provider, maybe you may be working with a team of volunteer handlers.
Yeah, just to acknowledge that that's the case.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Because in all of these, there's may or may not. Yes, may or may not. So I think the option of the so-called professional to work with a volunteer team is a valid option for all of these. Again, I'm not sure. I'm not a practitioner, but I do think it is. I'm not sure about occupational therapy, if you would work with a separate team or not, but
Yeah, we actually do.
that-
Yeah, we do
that
have teams
Yeah,
doing that.
actually, you know, just to jump in very quickly, in the psychotherapy field with horses, many of the largest organizations like EGALA require an equine handler and a psychologist to be present to do the treatment. So that holds true
So-
there too, to have another person.
right. So either as an option or sometimes as a requirement, collaborative work with an animal. Again, we didn't like handler. I don't know if specialist is the good word, whatever, animal, human partner of the animal. I don't know.
Animal
But
partner.
yeah, definitely the collaborative, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's where it should go, under provider. I don't know, maybe we could have a separate column for teamwork or something, but
Now, I'd like to go just back a little bit. I'm talking about the types of the goals of the service and the target population. I see a difference for, you get to professionals. Okay, and I think it would be redundant to say, basically you're not saying what are the goals of animal assisted psychotherapy or animal assisted occupational therapy. Because it's the goals of the profession, and they're no different if you have the animal assisted. So I think and the same thing with the target population.
right, well,
Psychotherapists
not
will have
everybody's.
Wait, but psychotherapists will have one target and the occupational therapist will have another target population. But as you go down and hit the support services, especially the specific ones, at the bottom, I think you do need all of that. For instance, for courthouse dogs, it's not obvious. It's not, a
Right,
separate
right.
profession. It's a very targeted activity with a very special population. So,
Right, but something like for visitation, target population, anybody in need of mood elevation or mood enhancement, or they're good for anybody. I would love to pet a dog on an airport when my flight has been canceled. So it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be a target population. So this is not so much a key element, other than, as Nancy was specifying when we were talking about courthouse dogs, it's not for anyone who goes to court because of drug trafficking. I don't think you have a courthouse dog for that particular offender, right?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
so that's
Victim support.
basically why this is here. I guess.
And the truth is, when you bring a dog into one of those settings, yeah, you're there. For example, we work with victims of crimes, right? Witnesses who are going to
Right.
testify in pretrial preparation. We're there for them. But the truth is, it helps everybody who's in the setting, as you were saying,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
It helps the attorneys, it helps the judges, it helps the courthouse workers. So everybody is impacted by it in those settings.
Right, but you're not going to go to the airport with a volunteer to do speech therapy, right? And, you're not going to ask who needs some articulation, practice and do it there. So that's why some of these might just say, individuals with particular problems of that sort and specify what.
I'd be happy to work on the OTPT speech
Mm-hmm.
areas, Daniela.
And again, to my mind, this should be just like a very quick summary, not the narrative.
Right.
I think if people want to explain what they do, that should be in the narrative part of the paper.
I think another advantage to this is it'll really help kind of differentiate between, it'll clarify all animal assisted services and let people really see what the difference is between animal assisted occupational therapy and animal assisted counseling, or it'll really help demonstrate
Right,
the
and
individuality of the practices in some ways, but there's also a
Yeah,
lot of
'cause-
overflow. I know that, but yeah.
I I personally don't, maybe I didn't read enough. I don't know what this is, or how this is different from this, you
Right.
know.
Right.
So,
Yep.
and I read a lot in the field,
Mhm.
and
I'm
I
with you
still-
there. That area does confuse me. I've read an awful lot about it and talked to a lot of people. And so seeing it and going, oh, this person might work on anger management, whereas this
Right,
person
exactly.
really focuses
Excellent.
on, I don't know, but I don't know what.
Yeah, I looked at
so,
APA.
It'll be helpful.
Yeah, I looked at APA and it said, well, counseling takes into account more of the past and works on the present, while coaching takes
I
the
know.
present and works on the future.
Well,
But
in all
it's-
honesty, the coaching piece is the European version. And it has nothing to do with us, because in the US, coaching is, you don't need a degree, you don't need a credential, you don't need anything to
Yeah.
be a coach. But in Europe, you do, and they're technically counselors, but they have a coach title instead of a counselor title. And that was the
So,
difference.
I was wondering about that.
So in the chart and in the literature might be helpful to say, European or whatever. And,
Yeah,
and I
right.
didn't
That's
recognize
the
that. I didn't know that. I
Right,
thought,
that was the asterisk that said, make sure that you have to honor the code of your professional
Yes.
ethics, and then the country
Right.
of origin, like that stuff, that's where that comes into play.
right,
Yeah.
yes.
Right, because we have people in the US calling themselves coaches. I'm not quite sure what life coaches or
Yeah.
And
wellness.
yeah, there's like,
Sure.
that's
In
what I
Israel
thought
too.
this was at first, was a life coach. Yeah, me too, Laura.
Yeah, that's real
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
By the way, maybe
Can
to add in the overarching goals and just say within the scope of their profession,
Yes,
that would,
yes.
right, right.
But if it is exclusively European, just having that noted would be helpful. And Amy, I gotta know who you've got there.
This is Wilson. He,
Oh.
he was my friend's grandmother passed away, and he had nowhere to go, so here he is.
Yeah.
But he likes to
Daniela, I
attend
have-
meetings.
he's a cuddler. I like
He
cuddlers.
is. My only
Sorry,
cuddler.
Daniela, I have a question. I'm
Yes.
not clear about animal preparation or role in the service. What does it means? What do you expect
So
of
I
that?
think initially there were many columns for that. So is the animal certified by any organization in some way? Is the animal trained to do specific tasks or not? Like I think with a horse, you do train them to do tasks depending on which kind of, if you just walk with a horse, maybe you don't. But if you do physical therapy or physiotherapy with a horse, maybe you do. So that's what I think we want to know. Is there some sort of credentialing or screening of the animal? In some psychotherapy, you may use, I don't know, hamsters that have no screening or something. The natural behaviors are what matters most. And then,
Okay.
or role, something like task trained or not, or passive active. Like by passive, we mean, we know an animal sitting there and tolerating someone petting them is beneficial, therapeutic, but in others, like in rhesus play therapy, the animals are highly trained to play. They know how to play. They do games. They do, that sort of thing.
It's
Okay,
really,
okay, thank you.
according to the approach of the therapist. And Risa does that way. And then I say, I don't want a therapy dog with me. I want a dog with me in therapy who's going to misbehave and do whatever they do. It's like,
So,
dog
so
wants-
clearly,
yeah.
the
little bit-
narrative in the
It's a
paper
little
should
bit
say,
of a slippery.
sorry.
No, I was just, finish your thought.
Just to, wait. Hi, I am.
What I was gonna say is that it's a slippery slope with the training, because any dog or horse working anywhere has to already have some basic training to even be able to show up, whether it's for psychotherapy or for riding. Because,
that's why I'm
the
saying
wild
task-
horse wouldn't work.
Right, task training meaning specific task, like a service dog is task
Right, but
trained
that's what
for
I'm-
27.
Right. But correct, but there's a difference because, a hamster is, you know, can just show up, or a tortoise can just show up. But for horses and dogs, basic obedience, basic socialization, that already requires training, but it is not the same training that you know, a volunteer would do with their dog to go into a hospital. So there's just a little bit of a borderline there, because some level of training is a prerequisite for any dog or any horse for any activity.
So
So
again, what do you mean by training, Michael? I mean, for any dog?
Right.
Maybe I'm not understanding correctly what you're saying, but for instance, you know, I get my dog and
Okay,
like a
what
friend of
I'm-
mine
what I'm-
says that, you
What
know,
I'm saying,
we educate them to go out in our family.
What I'm
and My dog
saying,
doesn't get any more training than that.
sorry. Yeah, what I'm saying is that a dog needs to be leash trained. A dog needs to be basic obedience, just sort of the basic socialization around people. That is training,
Okay.
but it is not the same as the more advanced, more specific task training that you guys
So
are
could we
talking about.
just-
And in
could
horses
we just do
especially,
that? Just say level 1 and level 2, or sort of basic screening and basic training socialization versus advanced certification and advanced training. That's it.
I think so. Yeah, there you
Yeah,
go.
there's
Basic
a
versus
safety.
advanced.
How about something like, you know, specialty skills for occupational therapy, or specialty skills for, you know, whatever.
When you say that, do you
so-
look for that in the screening of the animal, or you train the animal? I mean,
Trained.
then
It is
that's advanced training. Then that's advanced. Why don't we? 'Cause
Okay.
I'm thinking
Okay.
of way to make this clearer and simpler. So their basic level, everybody needs to be screened, because you don't want a hamster who is pooping all over the place, including the client's hands, right? Or something
no,
like
no,
that. Or
that's
maybe
fine.
you do.
That's fine.
Well, but you don't want an animal who's sick, totally sick, and I don't know. So
Mm.
there's basic screening and socialization training versus
Mhm.
advanced or specialized, I would say certification or something like that. There's some documentation and training.
Yeah, I like screened and socialized. That's,
Screen and
yeah.
socialized, or besides that, advanced.
Just, yeah, I don't want to be, you know, complicating it. Just keep in mind, for horses, there's absolutely no certification or testing for therapy horses, or for
Mhm.
hippotherapy horses, for that fact.
But you're saying there's specialized training.
There is specialized training, but there is no certification.
Okay, so we could leave the certified out and just say advanced training.
Mhm.
Well, and right, that's the animal, not the handler, right? There's the,
Yes, only the
yeah,
animal.
there's the animal, right? And there's a safety issue too, right? If you're saying you could have any animal in therapy, that's not true. If you have a horse who you know does not tolerate people well, there's obviously a big safety issue there. So there's
Mhm.
got to be something, right? It's got to be some screening, I guess.
Assessed for
Yeah, it's the
suitability.
professional who determines if the horse is able to do it.
Say that again, Michael.
So the selection of the animal is in the professional's hands, and the professional
Yes.
decides, rather than
Right.
certifying the horse.
Yeah. It's too bad Meg isn't here for it. By the way, the reason why Meg hasn't been able to come, she had some medical intervention, and she's taking a couple of months of rest. And I messaged with her husband, and she's doing just fine, but she's taking it slow right now. So,
Give her our best.
okay.
Okay. Well, I think I understand what you're looking for, Daniela, and I'll work on some areas of this over the next week.
And again, if people think this is not useful, I absolutely don't think it should be inserted. I just think that if we're struggling so much to contribute to people understanding all of these subfields as valid area of practice, we need to tell people what we do, right?
I think this is great as a summary, having this all in one place, right? It's easy to look at, it's easy to read.
Yeah. Maybe I'll get a hold of Cynthia Chandler and also Phil Tedeschi. I can talk to both of them and see if they'll, give us a little bit in terms of counseling and social work. Because we don't have one in this group that deals with that.
Well, oh yeah, I'm a counselor. I'm a licensed.
Oh, you're
professional
counselor, then fill it in, go for it. I thought you were a psychologist. Okay, never mind.
I'm a LPC. Yeah, or I mean, but Cynthia would, she would have a lot of,
No, go ahead. You.
I mean, she would have some good insight
You
as
go.
well.
You do it. I for some reason, I thought you were a
But
psychologist.
Nancy,
Yeah,
Nancy, keep in mind, in the United States, in New York, social
Yeah.
workers are therapists. So they do the same thing as a psychotherapist does.
right now, it's that way.
Don't cringe.
Not at all. I'm a social worker, but,
Okay,
But-
good.
no cringing.
So-
No, but again, there's a difference between, let's say, a social worker who does psychotherapy, and then there's other areas of doing community social work and
Right.
stuff like that. So how would, let's say, a community social worker bring an animal into that? That's all I'm saying, that there's a,
But
wider
Nancy,
range.
at some point, either it's still therapy if they're in the community, or then it borders into the companion dog providing comfort, making it more social. And then it's not, you know what I mean?
yeah, well, I guess I want to say psychotherapy to me is, coming to the social worker and for the weekly psychotherapy session, as opposed
Talk
to,
Yeah, but
Session.
you can do family therapy too. When you go into somebody's home,
yeah,
you do a visitation, a child check, that's family therapy.
Mhm. Right,
It
or the
wouldn't-
community agencies, where like they're caseworkers or whatever, like they're not necessarily
Right.
doing therapy either.
But wouldn't a caseworker go to the same family, following the same family a couple of times? And if that particular caseworker brings one's dog, they're providing social work sort
absolutely.
of treatment with that dog. And they're doing something different from what a psychotherapist is doing, let's say, in one's office. Now, there's no problem if this gets
that's
repeated
fine, yeah.
everywhere, just saying, but in community, or but at the client's house, or anything that might differentiate if we really want these to be separate fields. Because if not, I
Yeah,
would actually prefer everything here to be under psychotherapy, but that really infuriates other people. So unless it's fine to have these goals for all of these, but with a distinction, like, the social worker provides targets emotional, social, behavioral, and related mental health issues in the client's home or in the community or whatever that distinction is. I have no idea what the coaching does. And I remember when we were talking about executive coaching and animal assisted executive coaching, is that for future leaders of companies and CEOs?
And
What
with
is
horses,
the animal?
yeah, they do that with horses also. At least to me.
Okay,
Yes.
so maybe, that's something that would come out in the target population as the distinction,
Mhm.
because if that is still addressing, I don't know, behavioral and mental health issues of the CEOs, but it's a different target population, that's where the distinction would come out of,
It's not
right?
with them. Mhm.
Right, I mean, that's why these elements, I think that these practices have a variety of different elements. They could have exactly the same specific goals, but differ on some of these other elements.
Yeah, they're different nuances. I was like 19 years working as a psychotherapist in an emergency shelter. And then in the middle, I went on to study social work. And then I was added on to as a caseworker for, given families. And I could see how I was doing differently. But it was amazing how the effect, it was the same room and the animals there and Musha was walking around. The way that the the parents who would come in screaming and yelling, you abducted my child, and all this stuff, and how I was able to meet those families on a total different level because the animals were there. I wasn't doing psychotherapy. It was casework. But there are different nuances, but it's all there. And again, different countries are going to have different nuances. And I agree with you, Daniela. My first reaction is they're all doing psychotherapy, but I think each profession, besides doing psychotherapy, they're also doing a little bit on this side.
Daniela, question, Daniela. First off, I think you're amazing with what you're doing, and this is so worthwhile, painful though it may be. One thought, is there a way that we can do an asterisk or some sort of a explanation at the bottom that regulations and professional capacities differ wildly country by country, so that we don't get overly into the weeds with a social worker or this one or that one? You know what I mean?
Right, no, I mean, I think
Give them
that
the
should be part
document.
of the main text. I think the narrative should clearly state that, and I think Amy already put that in the paper. And just and maybe just putting asterisks around here and explaining in the paper, some of these elements have an asterisk in the table because we expect variations across countries, whatever. Yeah.
And professions.
And professions, yes. So this is sort of just a summary. So if I come from, I don't know, I'm an experimental psychologist. Let's say I'm not, but let's say I do ERPs and brain imaging and so on. And I keep hearing about animal assisted, all sorts of things, including, I don't know, speech therapy. And I honestly don't know what to think about that field, whether it's valid or not, because there's nothing in the literature that shows randomized trials with and without a dog doing speech therapy. Maybe there is by now a paper out there. I haven't found it yet, but so on. So this is some sort of very quick way of saying, this is what we're doing. These are our goals. This is what the animal is for. This is what the animal is, how the animal is prepared, just screened, and these are the qualifications of the lead provider. Now, again, protocol, approach, whatever, could just be yes, written protocol, or no protocol, a flexible approach. Yes, no, something like that. Nothing has to be very heavy and explanatory in the table. This is just sort of check marking. Is there a protocol or not? Is there some documentation or not? I mean, it would be nice to say something like, define protocol based on treatment approach, consent form, and client progress notes, and animal behavior notes under documentation, like 4 elements for this practice. But again, I don't know what the documentation requirements. Some visitation programs have like the number of hours you visited, right? Or some sort of documentation. I don't know. Or you could say totally no, informal. Instead of protocol, define approach, documentation requirements, informal, no documentation. And that's absolutely fine. That doesn't invalidate that practice. It just shows it's a flexible activity, right? But people really don't know what's the content of these types of activities. I'm done because my brain isn't working that well under COVID. So I think I'm done pleading for the summary.
No, it looks great. I like that it moved to the more simplistic view. I think it's easy to read. It's really nice. So when should we have this done? Oh, sorry, Mariana.
No, I like this idea to have a very clear what is about coaching, psychotherapy, because we have many differences between countries, but we have a kind of guide for all of us to know what we are talking about with this kind of element. So I really love this idea, Daniela, also.
And the other thing I was hoping, obviously not in here because there's no room, but I left it in here. In the narrative, if somebody could just like give a concrete example to show this is what I do as a case manager, as a social worker. I bring my dog to blah, blah, blah. The dog is petted by the kids, whatever. In the paper itself, for these a little more, unusual subfields, if people would like to just give a concrete example, that would be great. Again, we didn't write much about the specific goals here because we don't want to put words in other people's mouth. We want to let the people who do these things say what their goals are and so on.
I can work
Again,
on this. I can
yeah,
work on this upper portion if
big-
you want.
The big table is still there, the big table where I kind of put in, and with Nancy's help, information from what we think might be going on in these subfields. But I think it's more honest to let people who actually do this write down what they think fits in here. But there's information in that Excel table as well, if people want to just take another look there.
So is this document already on the drive then, Daniela, or will you put it there?
No, it should
Right.
be on the drive. Yeah, it's,
Okay,
let me see if I can.
I didn't see it, but I probably just couldn't find it.
Well, it's called, what is it called? Table of areas of
Yeah,
service. Yeah, it's in the Google. It should be in the Google Docs. Let me try to put it. How can I send it from here to make sure that I can send it from here? I need to attach it, right, to an email?
Yeah.
I'll attach it again to an email then. Let me just do it right now. Should I do stop share now then?
Mm-hmm.
if it's on the
And
drive, we can all
If you
Yeah,
send it, you can send us all a
put
link.
comments
actually.
and all.
Yeah.
Okay.
it is right now, but it's,
Yeah, I'm just not finding it. Sorry. I'll look later. Oh, I have a Daniela table revised July 5.
that is the previous one. That's the big Excel one. No, it's the newer one should be. It's
Okay.
renamed main areas. Let me, if I just email it, let me just do it on the latest email, like on Nancy's email, and just send as an attachment.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I could do that.
Well, would it be better to send a link to it so everybody can fill in?
Well, if
what-
she emails it, I can upload it there too.
Okay, okay.
So I can just do that, but yeah. So I have it right.
So reply to all table and attach well, I send it. Can someone see if
Mhm.
Not yet. I'm checking on my phone.
Yeah, I don't have it yet, but it might take a minute.
There it comes. It came. Yep.
so anyone can open it as an attachment? If someone
Yeah.
could upload it, again, overriding the one that's I thought was already in the Google Docs.
There it is. I just got it.
Amy, did you get it yet?
Not yet.
Mhm.
Oh, there it is. Just popped in. Okay, then I'll move it over right now.
Yes, I got it.
And the
Yeah.
one,
There it is.
the latest Excel one that Nancy and I worked on Sunday and Monday, that should be updated table August, not July 7. It should have been August. Is that not in the, under Google?
Mm-mm.
Let me try to do the same.
Okay, so it should be saved there now.
Let me try to do exactly the same with a big Excel one. Excel table. So that should replace the Daniela table revised. This one, the August revised.
Okay.
Again, it has all the subfields that we have in the graph, the way they were, you know, I just didn't color them in the colors of the graph. I don't think I did.
Well, if it's uploaded, I'm still not seeing it. So it
Yeah,
must
it's
be
on the
something
bottom. It's
my
the
end.
it's the last one in the folder. It says table of area service. It's in the
That's the clean table. Now, the next one, I sent the Excel table, the big one.
Okay,
I
got it.
sent the second
Right.
message.
Okay, got it. So doing that one right now.
And that says updated August, and that's a little more updated than the July one. It's what Nancy and I worked on. But again, we didn't fill in all the cells because we didn't want to assume.
Okay, that one's done. That one should be up too. So,
Okay.
Yes.
But
Thank
obviously,
you.
the Excel table is way too big, too large, too unwieldy. So I think the one in Word could actually be inserted in the paper eventually if people want to
yes.
fill it in.
Yep, sure.
So if we want to fill anything in, which document?
The small one,
Okay.
yeah, the one in Word, because I don't think you can. I don't know how to format the Excel one to make it compatible with the Word paper.
Okay.
The draft is in Word, Amy, right? The outline rough draft is in.
Yep,
Okay.
sure is.
So the only issue is that it's a landscape orientation, so.
Yeah, that's okay.
if-
That's okay. It's fixable.
How's your bird doing, Nancy?
Oh, I forget the baby. Oh, I'm surprised he's not screaming he's hungry. There he goes.
Aww.
About 2 weeks ago, no, because he.
What kind?
It's a minor.
Minor bird?
Aw.
Yep, he fell out of a nest and we put him back.
It's a native bird by you?
Yeah, they, an invasive species. Matter of fact, most places, they refuse to take them. They'd
Aw.
rather they just, disappear.
Oh,
I'm not able to do that. But yeah, he fell out of the nest a second time because the parents weren't too smart. They put him inside of a pipe like going downhill. So we just went out twice. So,
Oh,
and I got him, he was almost totally naked, probably just, a week old or something. And
Yeah.
at an age where you usually cannot, and you're not able to save them, but he wanted to survive, and he, boy, oh boy, he's a go-getter.
Aw.
He's a sweetie. And I don't know what to do, quite know what to do, because my heart says, I'm keeping him. And my head says I should give him to I found a nature preserve that will, provide food and shelter.
Mhm.
But, I have actually, this is the guy that I saved 13 years ago. I got a call from a nature preserve saying they really didn't want to deal with raising another baby. Could I take him? And he's our lover around the house. He's part of the family. He eats from our plates when we're having meals, and he loves to cuddle with us, and he's very sweet. And so I don't know, maybe I'll do the same.
Beautiful.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
13-year-old baby. It's too bad that Michael left, because I was going to ask his advice about the minor. No.
He said his power went out, his phone.
What?
He
What?
lost power on his phone.
Yeah, I know. He said that, but because I know they have more experience with that, I was going to ask him what he thought. But I'm going to put him back in his house so he stops making so much noise.
Yeah.
They have an insatiable appetite. I was warned at the rehab place when I talked to them. They said they are never satiated. They always want more.
Aw.
And if you feed them too much, then what goes in comes out, and you can see that it wasn't digested at all. No. And I just fed him before I got in the Zoom, so. Put him back in the kitchen. As you see, someone else wants to stay with mommy. So he can just,
Aw,
whatever.
cute.
He's a sweetie pie. And I can't put them in cages. They just,
Oh,
my house is where he lives, and then the minor.
I understand that.
Yeah, I just can't do it.
I get it.
Mhm.
All right, so that's good. So, did we want to kind of go through the paper real quick too, or did we feel like we want to work on the other thing
Oh.
first?
What other things do we have?
The paper.
Yep.
Only it has to be ready because the Ohio conference is September 3rd or
Mhm.
4th, somewhere in there. So, it just needs to be ready to be shared.
Yeah, what are they wanting from us?
Well,
I
well,
would-
basically, like I will
draft.
have it to share. I will share our documents,
Mhm.
with credit, of course. But I just want to make sure that we are up to date and where everyone's in agreement. And
Yeah,
I mean, I can share it with you before the conference.
we trust you. And I just was wondering if they wanted to have a group of people there
Yeah.
discussing, or if it was you presenting it, just
Yeah,
to get organized beforehand.
yeah, because Marie Jose, Joanne Fowler, Melissa, and me, just as like
Oh,
the
okay,
impetus
so
of it.
you guys are doing the presenting. Very nice.
Yeah, but we definitely have the options to do things elsewhere, like with the content once it's like been approved, and you say you want to share it with your OT group or your whatever, like it'll be fair game for anyone to present. But
Mhm.
this one's just kind of like making sure that we get the support that we need, and hopefully people like it and they don't. have a
So
big-
right now, I looked at it this morning and inserted a couple of sentences in the definition part. to me, the definition part is empty. I mean, it has,
Yeah,
it,
I think
it just has the emails that I sent way back as starting points. So we still need to define AAE and AASP and so
Yeah.
on. So I just don't want to take on defining those. I put those there as a starting point. I added in front of, do you want to open it? I could show you. So to my mind, the definition section was supposed to be the main part of the paper because it's a terminology paper, but that's kind of absent. Everything else is very nicely written. So I hope it was saved. The actual outline draft. So at one point when we were introducing a little further up, I think the first time the AAS was introduced, I was saying, how about holding on using AAS and just starting with, over the last 50 years, there has been a dramatic development in professional fields and practices involving animals for the benefits of humans, and then terminology such as, and then that explains the dilemma, but we haven't introduced our new term yet.
Yeah, and I had suggested the same thing. I agree
Right.
with Daniela that it's not.
I had put that in the
yeah,
text. I
didn't
don't
seem
know
like
why
it
it's
should
not
come-
saved in the text. I mean, it's saved there, but I don't know why it's not in the text because I did put that in the text. Anyway.
It's in there.
Oh, okay. So then a little
Good
further
comment.
down when we're defining, before Nancy's part was AATX, I think. Yeah, recommendations. Yeah.
Where are you, Daniela?
Where am I? Where?
In the paper. What page?
I'm not in there. I'm not even listed as
Oh.
contributor. I'm not even listed among the contributors. I did send whoever was making the list my information, Boston University Center for Autism Research, but I don't know. It didn't go through.
I should send mine in. I didn't do it yet.
I just added mine to the list. I thought that's what everybody did.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Mine
Okay.
wasn't in there. I thought that was what we were supposed to do, was add our own, so I did it. I did mine.
Oh, I didn't know. I thought somebody was choosing who's the main contributor and plus squared.
Are we members, Nancy and Amy? Was I supposed to add my name there or not?
I see.
And I think Boston University, or even just Department of the Psychological Science, that's probably enough. So here, areas of terminology to be defined by this paper. Somebody else wrote this, and I was thinking, shouldn't we explain? So the stated goal of this paper is to focus on what has been referred to until now as human-animal interventions for the welfare of humans. That was in the paper. So don't we need to explain here why we don't like the word? So I was just suggesting, because substantial number of practices that have been probably indiscriminately labeled interventions. I think casual is not a good word, but I always do that and let people decide which word to choose when there are many in a row. Do not conform to the requirements implied by the scientific concept of intervention or the public's understanding of the term. We propose to use animal-assisted services as the most inclusive term covering these areas of practice. And then what was there before, specifically terminology will be created, blah, blah, that was already in there. So I was also wondering if we want up front to say something like, and it's a little further down, where do we want to insert the table after everybody does the narrative description or not. So I just added here something about how dynamic this field is. So a little further up, I think. So this was already there. We recommend the umbrella term animal assisted services to refer to, and I don't know if people agree with this. I'm absolutely happy for people to say something else, to refer to all programs, practices, human services that incorporate animals into therapeutic, educational, and/or supportive ameliorative processes. I found this, I think, ameliorative processes in Kirulo and others' papers. So, but again, people could refer here to something else, but I feel like we need to define animal assisted services as the major field with its subfield somehow. This broad term covers 3 major areas of animal assisted services. And that before we say we recommend the umbrella categories, and maybe we can decide instead of the ambiguous word categories to use just something like major field and subfield, or major area and field, something like that. I think category is a little ambiguous, or just keep category for the subfields, not the 3 major ones. Because basically the 3 major ones, they're just major areas that include a number of categories of practices.
Say branches.
Or branches or something. And then this was already in there. Each service description includes names of the service. I think that's from Nancy. So I was wondering if we want to state up here before going ahead and defining either the subfields or just the 3 major areas, whichever. I don't think that was decided, whether we want in the text to only define the 3, AAT, PAE, and ASB, or we want to define subfields. But I felt like within each of the major fields, or the 3 major fields, maybe, the 3 major fields or areas, there are a variety of categories of professional and volunteer-based programs that are continuously evolving. I felt like we have to kind of throw that there so people don't think they're being left out. Some of these practices are designed as interventions involving a protocol with stated goals and defined outcome measures, while others are based on more informal interactions aimed at motivational. Again, people could write whatever they feel these visitation programs are aimed at. I thought motivational, comforting, social education, and general well-being benefits. And then the distinctions between classifications are based. So here we're just saying that distinctions will be provided, but what are we basing the distinctions on? I was suggesting here. So distinctions are based on several key features, and then the table could go in as summarizing the features, and then people could either continue to explain each branch in a narrative format, or that could be either before or after the table. I don't know, but I thought this kind of frames the overall structure of how we're thinking about the major 3 areas and the subfields.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if we decide the table isn't useful, then obviously delete all this and just leave the narrative.
No, I
of
think that'll
other-
be helpful.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
as I said, I'm not taking on defining every single one. I suggested those definitions for AAE and ASP as a starting point, but I hope others would jump in.
Mhm.
I don't know where they are right now. The ones that are in capital letters, probably further
Yeah,
down.
that's okay. Yeah, we'll go back through it. I'll go back through it and
Yeah,
um,
this stuff. I mean, I would delete.
yeah,
I
we'll
would-
clean it up. I just wanted everybody to have a chance to comment and put in their thoughts and input. So yeah, now we just have to go in and clean it up. So
Right, what did people think of my suggestion that instead of the AATX, to say, there we go, the treatment practice or treatment profession, AATP? Just
Just like
like,
the ATX. I mean, it sounded like everybody kind of uses that in their field.
the TX?
TX.
Really, I'd never heard of it
Sounded
before.
like it when somebody first suggested it, everybody's like, yeah.
It sounds like a RX.
I don't know who,
Yeah.
yeah.
the-
I mean, I can tell you, we use it in OT and PT and speech and all that.
Really?
yeah, we use it too.
But there are a lot of other people, I think, that it said, yeah, that's
Mhm.
perfect, that's a good way to identify treatment.
Mhm.
But that was my interpretation.
Yeah, I just threw it out as a possibility. Wondering if, in other languages, how that would look.
Yeah, that I don't know. That I don't know. Thanks for putting this out there, Amy. I did look through it and I did have some suggestions for the area that talks about I don't know, how do you say IAHAIO?
Ohio.
IHIO.
Ohio.
IHIO.
Ohio.
Ohio. Okay, anyway, the part about the Ohio collaboration with AAII, I read those two main sections and had a number of comments about basically about some reorganization that I thought flowed and kind of brought similar content to the same space.
Sure.
And rather than putting in a lot of little comments that got really muddied. So I do have my idea of a rewrite for those two areas off to the side. So I'd love to hear people's input on that, after you've had a chance to look at it. And that covers the areas of the IAHIO and AAI collaboration. And what is the other one? The current challenges section. So just some thoughts there. And then not Daniela, Mariana and I had a question mark. Let me see if I can find it. And I don't see any way to look at page numbers in Google Docs, but in the yellow highlights before Daniela was referring to the umbrella term and so on. It says the definitions connected with the human-animal bond and general human-animal interactions not related to AAS will be constructed by another working group. So we had talked last time we met with a big group, Mariana and I talked about what we were addressing as far as human-animal bond and human-animal interactions, that though they're not being defined, that we were going to be sharing content, describing them, pointing out some scientific evidence that supports that, giving examples and so on. And the people that were in our last group seem to be on board with that. So we're going to be submitting our entries into this document probably in the next day or so, Mariana. We had hoped to get it done by today, but and then again would like, feedback on that. And that's specific to the human-animal bond and human-animal interactions, which we are not defining, but describing.
Yeah, right. No,
Right? Okay. Okay,
good.
so it'd be great to get feedback on those areas.
Yeah. All right. So why don't we just take the rest of the weekend and to add any final things, or if you want to go through it one more time and just see where any holes are, just identify things, what has not been filled in, and then between Nancy and I, we can take it on in the next week or two and just kind of finalize the editing and formatting and all that. Is that doable?
Okay.
I mean, I know it's the weekend and all, but is that okay?
Yes.
All right.
Early next week, maybe, like by Tuesday.
Early Tuesday. Tuesday it is.
I don't
All
know.
right.
Uh,
So say by Tuesday. Yeah, that's fine because we can still go through it, especially if we're using the same. Well, we can figure out how to make a clean edit. But yeah, any thoughts that you have to this one? And if we do start it earlier, just in a new document, a copy document, and you make changes in this one, just email that you made changes in this one so that we know to go in and get them.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so
Anything else, Mariana, about ours?
No, I think, well, we talk about, discuss, what is the differences, between, human animal services and human animal interaction. You remember?
Yes. Yes, and
That
that we
thing,
haven't really. Yeah.
Yes, I think that's take a bit longer to define.
mhm.
Right. That was the other piece of ours, was to say why all human animal interactions are not animal assisted services.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that'll be coming. That'll be a little while, but yeah, we've
Mhm.
got to start on it.
Perfect. Okay. All right, sounds great. Well, thank you. I mean, if I have to brag a little bit, when we did our update meeting with the other subcommittees, we were the only ones who had substance. Everybody else was like, oh, it was inspiring. But they were like, some of the groups were like, yeah, we got nothing. Nobody's doing anything. And,
Ooh.
others had started some movement, but they didn't have anything put together.
Ooh.
So when I did mine and I was like, well, here's our graphic and here's our rubric and here's our paper, they were like,
We've
I got
been
to brag
working
about you.
hard.
yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
we're
So
a
I got
good
to brag
group.
about you guys that they were very impressed. Very
Oh,
impressed. So thank you.
well,
But I think that you and Nancy do a great job with us, to
Well,
to-
thank you.
good
share
leaders.
the information and be, on time with the things. So thank you
Yeah.
both.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's been a really good group.
Yeah.
I'm excited to move on, but I've kind of liked meeting regularly with you guys. So I'm sure we'll still be in touch with some other things, but
Yes.
it's been a really, really great experience.
Good.
So, all right,
Great.
then we'll just be in touch through email then, and
Mhm.
yeah, and I can send if you want the information for the Ohio conference, if you want to attend, and you could feel free to speak up on it and add your, hey, I was working on the paper too, and this is what, you're welcome to contribute in that way as well.
Is
Is it
it
remote or in
virtual?
person?
It's virtual.
Oh, it is virtual. Okay.
It's virtual. Mhm.
When is that, Amy?
September 3rd and 4th.
Oh, I don't even have it on my. Could you send a link?
For sure,
Something else
yeah.
for you to do through email? Would that be?
Yeah. Yep. I'll send that out.
Oh,
I'll do
that'd be
that.
great.
Yeah,
Thank
let me send
you.
that out. Yeah, no problem. Let me just send it right.
Do you have to be a
You have to be.
member of Ohio to attend?
Oh,
Okay.
you just have to pay.
Yep, they make you pay a little more, but
Oh, maybe I did see it and I
yeah.
decided I couldn't
I think
afford
it's
it.
Ohio members 150,
Oh,
non-members 195, students 75.
I see. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
all right. But I'm gonna send it right now. And I'm just gonna send it informally. I'm not gonna.
Appreciate it.
What is it? September 3rd and 4th, I said, 3rd. Okay. All right, there it is. All right, super. All right, well, have a great weekend and, oh, go ahead, Laura.
No, sorry. I just have one more question that's
Yeah.
beyond our group, but I'm just wondering about the proper way to write out animal assisted whatever, therapy, services, treatment. I've always thought there was supposed to be a hyphen between animal and assisted, and
Mhm.
linguistically or somatically that I think that's correct, but I see it without a lot. What is the expected proper way for, say, research papers or, you know, professional documents and things like that? College curriculum.
I don't know, 90% I see with a dash.
Yeah,
I do too.
I think it's more
but-
appropriate too.
Okay, to include it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because I see a lot without, and I didn't know if I should continue. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So,
So we
Great.
want to be consistent in all of our entries too
Yeah.
then for the final document. Okay.
exactly.
All
All right,
right.
great.
Okay,
so thanks
seeing
again.
everybody.
We'll see. Yeah, hope everything's okay with your daughter too, Nancy.
Yeah, she just called and I told her that we're wrapping up. She was trying to figure out what to do, so, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be fine,
Yeah.
she'll be fine.
Yeah, well, keep us posted on that.
Yeah, I will.
Okay. All right.
Hey,
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
bye, good seeing you
Bye,
guys.
thank you.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.